We've reached the final session of Close Contact for Couples with PD. In this session, we're going to be talking about freezing of gait. And I think it'll be useful for you to hear a little bit of why this phenomenon occurs. Freezing of gait is an abnormal pattern that can accompany Parkinson's disease, as well as other Parkinsonian disorders in which there are sudden, short, and temporary episodes of inability to move the feet forward, despite the intention to walk. In a sense, you're stuck. This results in the characteristic appearance of the feet making quick stepping movements in place. However, while the feet remain in place, the torso still has forward momentum, which makes falls unfortunately uncommon in the context of freezing of gait. For some, these episodes can simply be frustrating, annoying, and perhaps embarrassing. For others, freezing of gait can become incredibly disabling and lead to injury. So today we're going to go through a variety of exercises that will not necessarily stop the freezing of gait, but will allow the two of you to negotiate spaces in a way that you hadn't before. So freezing typically occurs at a transition in movement, going through a narrow passageway, doorway, elevator door, or turning a corner or negotiating a circular pathway. And it's also more common in an area that you're not familiar with. So freezing is uncomfortable for both partners. The person with Parkinson's is embarrassed to be stopping right in the middle of something or holding their partner back. And the partner feels helpless, because usually sticking out a foot in front as a visual guide to step over just doesn't work. So let's start with an exercise designed to make you pay attention. This is called the Stroop test, where a chart of colors is listed. Now I'm going to share my screen with you and show you the Stroop test. So you see here on your screen a variety of colors listed, but the colors are listed written in a different color than the actual color. So yellow is red, red is black, purple is orange. The idea is that since we are native speakers of English, we would just be able to read this with no problem. But because what I'm going to ask you to do is read the color, not the name of the color, you're going to have to use your cognitive process in order to go through this chart. And I'm going to give this to you probably as homework the week before, and you'll be able to work on this yourself. I'd like you to time yourself, both of you, reading that chart. Take a few minutes, take an hour, and go back to it. So why do I feel that this is going to help with freezing of gait? The reason is that we don't think much when presented with the reading material. We have to think because we don't want to make that knee-jerk reaction of calling yellow yellow when it's actually in red. That's so similar to what we have to do when Parkinson's makes us think about movement rather than just do the movement. So walking is usually an automatic activity controlled by the limbic system. But when we need to come up with strategies to walk, we have to use the cognitive or frontal part of the brain. So you're going to do that Stroop test, see what happens after a few days, and see what happens after you've started using these techniques for freezing of gait. Our next exercise is something called call and response. You may have done this in a choir situation, a church situation. I say one thing, you say another. I say, it's great to see you, and you say, of course. So we're going to do it first verbally, going back and forth. As you will see, Natalia and I are going to go back and forth. And then you're going to pick a movement pattern. So I'm going to do something like, and I'm going to hit my hand to your hand. Do it with me. Now, don't do it when I do it. Do it after I do it. And now Natalia and I are going to demonstrate. This is sequence 1. We're going to do call and response first verbally and then in terms of movement. It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you.
Where did you grow up?
Where did you grow up? Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you? Great. Okay. So you can use this technique back and forth. After one of you has created a pattern, make sure that your partner does the same with you. And it should be a pattern where you're doing something to your own body, like clapping or touching, and also touching something of the partner, whether it's their head or their shoulder or their knee. Go back and forth and get more sophisticated with it. Add a few more gestures and see how it works. Our next exercise is called the box. You'll see on the floor that I have created a box. It's narrow at the top and wide at the bottom with 2 connecting sides that are an X in the middle. And the idea is that you're going to make this pattern with your feet, starting making a diagonal, tap with the other foot, go to the side, tap with the other foot, diagonal, tap, side, tap, diagonal, back, tap, diagonal, side, tap, diagonal, front, tap, side, tap. So each of you is going to do this by yourself, and then we'll try it in partnership. And as you go through this exercise, I want you to really feel your partner's weight when you're holding on to one another. See how you have to shift weight to one foot in order to lighten the other foot to make your next step. When you have the tap, that's still a light foot. You don't put weight on it until you step side. So try this first by yourselves and then as a couple. So the pattern that we're going to do, first I'm going to do it alone and then with Natalia. I'm going to start on one side and I'm really going to know that I have all my weight on this leg, so that this leg is light and it's able to move diagonally. And then I just tap. I don't put my weight on this leg again. I stand over here, I put all the weight on it. I tap, and then I reach behind myself and I tap. Side, tap, diagonal, tap, side, tap, back diagonal, side, tap, front diagonal, side, tap, back diagonal. Now the idea, maybe Natalia will join me, is we're going to do this together. And I'm going to guide her by using the side of my body against her body. So she really feels if I'm switching weight, I'm going to almost take her, I'm not going to take her off her feet, but I'm going to make her feel this is the heavy leg, this is the light leg. And just because we don't have a lot of space here, she's going to be a tiny bit in front of me. So I'm going to take all my weight back. I'm going to go to the diagonal. So she tap, side, tap, diagonal back, side, tap, diagonal front, side, diagonal back, side. Wonderful. Now we're going to make it a little harder. I'd like you to stand opposite one another, and you can hold on to one another if you'd like. You don't have to. If you are using a cane or a walker, you're maybe going to use that as you move. So I want you to keep in rhythm. Diagonal, tap, side, tap, diagonal, tap, side, tap. But what you'll notice is if you start on the same foot, you will be going against your partner. In other words, you'll be going away from your partner when you go to the side. If you start on opposite feet, as if you were looking in a mirror, you will be going in the same direction. So you might want to start easier, look in a mirror, and make sure you're using opposite feet as you begin the pattern. But make sure that you're always stepping just like me and Natalia on the beat. So by doing that, what I mean is I'm going to start on one foot and she is going to start as though she were looking in a mirror. So if I am on my right foot, she'll be on her left and vice versa. And we're both going to do the same thing. So I'm shifting weight, so I know this foot is ready to go. Front and side. So we're together, back and side. Do it again. Front, tap, side, tap, tap. One more, front and side, and back and side. Now we're going to make it harder. So we're going to start on the same foot. If I start on the right foot, she's starting on the right foot. But look what happens to our shape as we make it. So I'm going this way with my right foot, and she's going away from me with her right foot. Together. Side. Go back. And side. We're doing the same pattern, just with a different foot. So you can concentrate on your movement and your partner's at exactly the same time, even though you're doing different things. Beautiful. So the next exercise is a circular walk. Again, one of the reasons that we get stumbling or festinating when we start to turn is that we are not sure of the direction. Our feet are not just simply going forward. So what we want to do is hold on to one another like ballroom dance partners, and then start together, just changing the angle of your feet gradually. You're going to see me and Natalia doing this. So the leader initially has their hand on their partner's back, and I want you to indicate the shift of weight by using just a little bit of pressure on your partner's back. And this is similar to that entrainment exercise that we did several weeks ago, except now you're making a circle with one another, which is more challenging. So now we're going to show a circular walk, and one of the places that people freeze a lot is when they have to move in a circle or change direction. And the way that we're going to do this, again, has to do with shifting weight. So if you were going to a dance with your partner, you are going to be able to tell your partner, just by using the back of your hand for pressure. So if I want to go side here, I'm going to show her with my hand. And if I want to move her back, I'm going to show her a nice big open hand. We happen to be about the same size, but if you have a partner who's much bigger and you're the leader, which you might be, then you're going to probably want to move them from where they are bigger or heavier. So instead of holding the middle of the back, you would hold the waist or even a hip or buttock. So we're just going to do regular dance position. And I'm going to be the leader first, and then Natalia's going to lead in the other direction. The first thing I'm going to do is shift weight. And I'm telling her with this hand and with the bend of my knees where I'm going. And I'm going to move her slightly, and my feet will just take small pivot steps so that my feet are kind of moving in a circle, going in this counterclockwise direction. And she knows exactly where I'm going. If I suddenly moved her this way, she would see that I was switching direction. And all I did was pressure, not grabbing, but just directing with my fingertips and the palm of my hand. Now, I'd like you to reclasp your hands so that the other person leads, and make your circle in the opposite direction. If you were going clockwise before, now you're going to go counterclockwise. So now we're going to switch. She's going to be the leader, and she can take me anywhere she wants. Great. So I really feel where she's going, and I feel how she's shifting weight as she's doing it. And we can actually take this and move around the space. So I also want a visual cue. And it's always nice to look at your partner when you're dancing with your partner, but it will also shift what you're looking at in the room. So just be aware that you may have a double visual cue when you are making this circular pattern. Now we're going to try an exercise that I'm calling the hallway walk with extras. The first thing we want to do is simply go to the end of our space, whether it's a hallway or the end of your room, and begin to walk toward your screen with your partner. So you're probably going to hold your partner around the waist, and then you can hold the other hand or leave your other hand by yourself. Again, I want you to shift weight together. I want you now to start out on the same foot each time you begin your walking pattern. So we're going right and left and right and left. Go to the end of your hallway and just try that. Then you can turn around using that pivot step that we did in the circular walking and go back to where you started. So now we're going to show our basic hallway walk. We don't happen to have a hallway in this studio, so you're just going to pretend that you are in a narrow passageway. And the two of you are just going to stand together the same way that we were originally making that box. And we want to be going in the same direction. So that means we're going to be using the same foot to start with, so we have to shift weight to the same foot to lighten the one that's going to go first. It's sometimes easier to hold hands in front. And again, I'm going to suggest don't interlace your fingers like this, because it gives that push and pull thing we're not looking for. We're just going to hold similar to a ballroom dance hand. Again, we have our hands around each other's waists, so you can see that we're giving each other control of this movement. So we're going to just start, again, shifting weight. And right now, I'm the leader. It doesn't really matter with this. And I'm going to say 5, 6, 7, and we go 1, 2, 3. And we shift in a pivot, and walk away, 2, 3, 4, in a nice rhythmic beat. So now Natalia's going to be the leader, and again, she can take me wherever she wants. We can hold hands or not. If it's easier for you to stay completely open in front, you can do that as well. I feel it's nice to have the support of what the other person's giving you. So she's helping me to shift weight and know when we're starting together. I was not paying attention. To turn around, I have to take, it's kind of like the Rockettes. I have to take a little bit bigger step to make that circle happen. Now here come the extras. So we're going to make it a little bit harder each time. It is one thing for the brain to think about walking, if you have to think about it, which you do with Parkinson's disease. But it's another to do two things at the same time. So what I'm going to ask you to do is talk and walk. You're going to come up with a challenge for your partner. You're going to say, tell me 5 animals that begin with the letter B. Or you're going to say, list all the cousins on your side of the family. Or you're going to say, recite the alphabet, skipping every other letter. Something that really will make you think. And at the same time, you're going to have to do that walking. So think of your challenge. One person's going to do it first. Challenge. Take the walk. Go to the other end. And then the second person will use a different challenge. Take the walk and go to the other end. Hallway walk number 2 is a challenge. So we're going to be dual tasking. We're going to do the same walk, but I'm going to ask my partner to also talk at the same time. And you may know it's hard to walk and chew gum at the same time. So I'm asking you to use the cognitive piece of you, not just the physical piece of you. I am going to ask Natalia to say 5 animals whose names begin with B. So we're going to start at the back of the room. I gave her a lot of time to think about this. And first we're just shifting weight and go.
Bear, badger, bat, bee, bison.
Fabulous. Okay, and now we will, just so you can see us, we're going to walk back to the other side. And she's going to give me a challenge.
All right, so we are going to say every other letter of the alphabet.
A, C, E, G, I. And our next challenge is playing ball while you walk. So depending on the size of your space, you're going to take a tennis ball and you're going to walk across from one another. So now you're not holding hands. If in fact you have a really narrow hallway, you're going to have to do a crab walk. And Natalia and I are going to demonstrate that. And if you have a rather wide space, you can simply continue the walk, trying to stay in rhythm with one another and just tossing that ball, catching, tossing, catching, tossing. Okay, one more challenge. We're going to walk and play ball at the same time. So the first little sequence, if we had a hallway, it would be hard to be playing ball holding on to each other. So we're going to go sideways together. I call this a crab walk. Take one step and catch up with the other. And side, together, side, nice, together, side, together. So we're going to start back here, and on no particular cue at all, she's going to see me throw the ball. She has to keep walking, but she's going to catch and throw back to me. And great. This is too easy. When you get really good at this, we're going to use 2 tennis balls so that you're throwing and catching at the same time. Similar to the exercise that we did a long time ago, just sitting across from one another. But now you're in advanced close contact and you'll be able to throw this ball to one another. Don't worry if it goes out of bounds and you have to go and get it. That's fine. We just start again. When you become really proficient at this, what I'd like you to do is take the ball with you on a walk and make sure you're going around a corner or you're making a circular path in some way. And again, just watch out for traffic. So in order for me to throw and catch at the same time, this is kind of triple tasking. And if you get really good at it, you can also say 5 animals whose names begin with B. But right now, what I have to do is, as soon as I let go of the ball, I have to think about catching the ball. I have to be watching her movement as I create my own movement. So this is a little bit advanced. You work your way up to it. And if the ball goes all over the room, who cares? You have to walk and move and bend down and get it. So we're going to try this from over here. And I'm going to give her the nice alert that I'm going to throw first. Wow, terrific. Okay, and that's our ball game for today. Another finding in the study of freezing of gait is that multiple visual and oral stimuli are useful for breaking a freeze. We kind of want to wake the brain up in a variety of different ways. And that's why we have these clickers and laser pointers. They work best in tandem, giving both a visual cue and an auditory cue. So you might take them on a walk outside and experiment. One of the most difficult things to negotiate in terms of freezing of gait is a narrow doorway, just like this one. So most people think of simply stepping over their partner's foot. A lot of what happens, as I think I explained at the beginning, is this sense of the body wanting to move forward and the feet aren't going, and then they begin taking these really fast little steps. We're interested in nice, big, open steps. And one of the ways we can do this is to use visual and auditory cues that your partner is going to be giving you while you are negotiating this difficult sequence. So Natalia has a little clicker to make noise, and she has a laser pointer, which will make a line on the floor, and she's going to really slowly delineate where I need to take my step. Great. So we're going to practice doing both together, which for your partner is a little bit of a challenge. So I am frozen. It's hard for me to move. She's giving me a visual cue. And now the freeze is broken. So you may want to experiment with this outside, especially on a pathway where you can really see that line and hear the clicker. In addition, singing is a great aid. You can start with your partner on a really rhythmic song. And Natalia and I are going to demonstrate using I've Been Working on the Railroad. As you can see, if I go, I've been working on the railroad, this is a classic marching song, and it gives us that beat that I don't want to have to be beating each time I take a step. But the fact that you are making sound and your partner is making sound, that's giving you the cues that you need to take that next step. Partners, if you find that the person with Parkinson's is already frozen, my suggestion is that you go to them, take them around the waist, and take their other hand. You're going to begin rocking with them as you sing, and hopefully that side-to-side rocking, not trying to take a step forward, side-to-side rocking in addition to the song, I've been working on the railroad, is going to get your partner to break the freeze and begin to sing with you. So take that time just to do the rocking, then just to do the singing until you're ready to walk. When your partner says, I'm ready, you can take the first step, slow down, get in sync, and sing again. So just as using the clicker and the laser as two different cueing systems to break a freeze, another great thing is to actually sing. Singing usually a song has a beat to it, and the beat can then inform your weight shift, and your weight shift can inform your stepping. So we're picking a good march song, which is I've Been Working on the Railroad. And what I'm going to do, assuming that Natalia is frozen, is first simply start shifting weight and having her come with me by directing her with this hand in the back. And again, I have my hand on her back, depending on her size. I might have my hand further down. And then I'm going to start, without moving, just rocking. I've been working on the railroad. Now we're going to walk all the live. Sing with me, day. We can turn around. I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away. There's another song. It's actually not a song, but it gives us the right and left cues, and it's an old army marching song, and it goes like this. Left, left, I left my wife and 48 children right, right, right in the middle of the kitchen floor. Not very nice, but it works. So I want you to see that in this rhythmic pattern, you have to take a catch step to be able to get onto the right. Again, this is for when you really feel proficient about walking together and singing at the same time. I'm not sure where I found this marching orders, but I think they came from a very old Army exercise. The exercise actually tells you left and right, and it goes like this: left, left, left my wife and 48 children, right, right, right in the middle of the kitchen floor, and left. So you can see that in between this regular old march is a challenge of switching feet so that I can get onto the new phrase with the opposite foot. So we're going to do this really slowly. We're going to go left, left, left my wife and 48 children, right, right, right in the middle of the kitchen floor, and left. And then we can move. Left my wife and 48 children, right. Say right, right in the middle of the kitchen floor, and left. So we're not always with our partner when they're having a freeze, but sometimes we can see it happening. For example, if my partner was coming toward me through a doorway and couldn't get across it, and I'm on the other side of the room, I'd like to be in some way helpful, but I don't necessarily always want to go and fix the situation, right? I want my partner to be able to do it. So if you happen to be watching on the other side of the room when your partner goes into a freeze, you may want to come up with an appropriate verbal prompt, like left, right, left, right. Don't simply say their name, but give them the activity that they want to do. And then the partner can chime in with you, left, right, until he or she is ready to take that step. That'll get them shifting weight side to side to break the freeze. Some people also like to wear earbuds with rhythmic music playing if they go out for a walk alone. It is useful if you're not in a big city with a lot of traffic, where that might not be safe. So you could go and practice in a building you don't know, with a narrow doorway or elevator. And you can also use the wall behind you to push off to get into that elevator. I think you all know or have actually taken part in the program called Big and Loud. So a good rule of thumb is to exaggerate everything you're doing, whether you're singing or walking or even ice skating in your own home. So think of the way that you move on skates. You push off from one leg and then push off from the other leg. So you might try a hallway walk using diagonal skating steps as a technique. You'll be taking really big steps each time. Obviously, this is not for real life, but it's great to practice. Of course, one of the biggest concerns with Parkinson's disease is stepping backwards because it very often can create a fall. What we'd like to do is practice in a really safe environment to learn how to step backwards if we happen to need that. One of the couples in my previous group said that her partner fell because they were on vacation together and he stepped back to get a great picture of her on the mountain. So in order to do that, we have to think about what happens to the body when we step backwards. You tend to not just take your foot back behind you, but your whole body weight. So if you recall what you learned about finding your center of gravity in an earlier video, you can think about that here. And skating backwards in a hallway that's narrow enough to touch on both sides is a great way to practice. You might also use that tether technique, having your partner have you in a gait belt attached to a rope or cord, and allow you to step backward and yet keep your body upright. What you really want to do is to try and lean your body forward as you reach back just a little with each foot. So one of the more scary things is moving backwards when you can't see where you're going. Because the tendency, not just with people with Parkinson's, but for everybody, is if you don't know where you're going, your head, because your eyes draw you forward when you're walking, you think you have eyes at the back of your head, and it's taking your whole body back as you step back, but that way lies falling. So what we're going to do here is using a wall as a guide. I want my partner to help me by holding me upright as I step backwards. And she's going to hold this tether tight and reel it out as I walk back. It's similar to the fish reeling exercise we did before. But right now I really want to concentrate on the backward motion. As I lighten this foot near the wall, I'm going to take the foot behind me, but let her hold me forward. So she's really got me securely here. As I pull all my weight back, so I have to have both knees bent, as I pull all my weight back to the back foot, she's just going to reel me out a little bit. And then I can catch up with the other foot. If I want my outside leg to be moving, I have to shift weight onto the inside leg. Once again, she's going to hold me here. As I step back, my body comes forward, although my foot goes back. And as I push back into the back foot, my front leg lightens, and then they come back together again. The techniques you've learned in the past 6 weeks are a start. Now you can take them into daily life and experiment with any other movement that seems challenging. You have a partner to explore with. Just take it slowly, talk it out, look at each other, touch in different ways, and always maintain close contact.